Welcome back to part 2 of this week's podcast. We're now being joined by Dean Kowalsky. We are not related. Although I guess we get like a 23andMe and find something out, and that could be a whole new podcast or something.
Your last name ends in a Y, right?
Yeah, it does. We spell it a little bit differently. Yeah. But like we talked about, Meghan Roxas is back with us for part 2 of the podcast. So welcome back. Kyle's bowling, as we just discussed. Hopefully he's having a good game and in his non-matching shirts.
Yeah. We miss Kyle very much, but we're ready to get this interview going with our Survivor guest.
So first of all, we got to say thanks for taking some time today. I know you've been busy lately, and you have a 9 to 5. So Thanks for taking some time today.
I heard it's the hottest podcast, growing like crazy.
It really is.
So I had to run up here.
It's on the way up.
Took the express train.
Nice.
Thank you for having me.
Let's just kind of start. How did you wind up on Survivor? How did it begin? What gave you the thought to even apply to be a contestant?
Yeah. So I asked people, when I tell people that I was on it, first their reaction is like, wait, that show is still on? That's you, right?
No, I watch every 39 seasons.
And then most people are like, oh yeah, I watched season 1, but I've never watched it since. And that's now 20 years ago.
Yeah.
They're actually having their 4th season start February 12th. So I didn't even watch the first season when it first came out. I was more of an American Idol guy with my mom on Tuesday nights. But it was actually in college when I started watching it. It was myself, a fellow soccer player in my year by the name of Nick Scott, and a fellow basketball player of mine, Brian Barber. We all lived together, and we just wanted a show to watch Wednesday nights. At first, it was Dexter.
Okay.
I don't know what got us away from that. Maybe it was an off-season or something. But then somehow we landed on Survivor. We loved it. We would grab ice cream sandwiches from Ferris and bring them home and dial up some popcorn. It was great. And we watched 2 seasons in a row because the way it typically goes is September through December, and then it comes back on like February through April.
They do like Amazing Race between seasons of Survivor.
2 a year. And we absolutely loved it. And we still like have inside jokes from it and like things we say that people said on there that other people won't find funny. We loved it, and then like I graduated, life got in the way kind of thing. And then the job I was at prior to where I am currently, I was in sales, and I was like the entry-level cold call guy. And then there was an account executive who closed all the deals, and he was my mentor and like the smoothest guy I ever knew. And we were going down to New Orleans to speak to some companies at a conference, and we were walking into this one meeting, and this guy just like turns around at the door and like freaks out. And I'm like, he's like my mentor, like the smoothest guy. And I'm like, what the heck are you doing? And he was flipping out because on the other end of the table of H&R Block was this lady who used to be on Survivor by the name of Mama C, who at the time I had no idea who the heck she was. So I was fine. I was comfortable. But we ended up going out in New Orleans. They were like having a ball, the two of them talking about it. I was just hanging out, didn't really care. But when we got back, it brought this guy was Dan, me and him together closer. And then we started watching more and more together. And that was probably like 5 years ago. So I've probably watched every season since then, which is probably 10 seasons of the 39. So that would happen. And then when we would watch, just like any like sports viewer, I feel, where you're like watching the game and you're like, dude, he should have done this. Like, what the heck? Like, I could totally do that. Yeah. And we just sit there one day like, yo, why don't we just apply? So I actually made it a New Year's resolution of mine. Like, put time on his calendar and stuff. Like, we're going to outline our videos together. We're going to film our videos together. Then he just started ghosting me. And I wasn't having it. I was like, I'm going to apply. I made it a resolution. Need to make it happen. So I just took it upon myself, made the casting video by myself, and submitted it, checked it off my list, and was like, thank God, done. And I didn't expect to hear back. And here we are sitting on the podcast of all podcasts talking about it. So.
Do you just apply online?
So yeah. So there are like some people who are recruited.
Okay. Well,
I was not one of them.
Okay.
The 2 people from our 20 people total who were recruited were this one 60-year-old like jack dude, Tom Laidlaw.
He used to play for the Rangers.
10 years on the Rangers.
Oh,
So,
wow.
so like somewhat of a big deal. And then another big deal was this girl, Elizabeth Beisel, who's a 3-time Olympic swimmer.
okay.
So like they were recruited for a
So
reason.
some athletes.
Yes. But most of the other people apply.
Okay.
And the first step is a 3-minute video, who you are, why you want to be on the show. Just submit it online and cross your fingers.
How funny is it that you were on the same season as another Ivy League athlete in Kelly. Was that a surprise to you?
No, I think traditionally there are like a lot of athletes, and I think they look for like, I don't want to boast myself here, but relatively articulate people who like tell stories like in the confessionals and stuff, at least through the casting process.
Right.
That's what they kept on emphasizing. And then actually only like 2 or 3 seasons ago, there was a fellow Columbia soccer player, Allison Raybould, who was on the season David and Goliath. I think it was 37, maybe 36. And so like as I was going through the process, I would like reach out to her and stuff. So I don't know, maybe for that reason, I like didn't catch me as a surprise.
Right.
What was the weirdest thing getting used to being on camera? Because you're like good on camera, or like small camera over here.
Thank you.
But like not
this
knowing.
comes with practice.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Poise.
Well, I don't know. Like you're just thrown in there, and they're like all up in your face,
Right.
literally 24/7. Like while you're sleeping, they're still there, and you to be honest, get used to it like really, really quickly.
Wow.
And I think it's like they don't talk to you as well. Like we're here like as castmates, and the camera guys over there like, oh my god, he's so cute, like all the girls are saying, and like they'll never react, never respond, nothing. So I think it just becomes second nature.
Okay.
And then like you kind of just start to have no filter out there because like from day one, like you're talking about like, so like where'd you just go to the bathroom? Like I went in the water. Oh, did like the wave push it back on you? Like what happened? No, I was going
The
like
hot
this.
takes.
I was like pushing it away, and then like it came back on the flow. Like so, like talking about those things so quickly, I think like just made us have
You
no
just
filter.
get
So it was
normal.
just to the,
Yeah.
and also like through the casting process, like ultimately you get to a final round of casting,
Okay.
which is a week in LA at like at a hotel, and then eventually CBS headquarters.
Okay.
And every one of those, they basically mic you up. They bring you to like a hotel suite. They have a chair, a green screen, cameras and lights already like facing the chair. You plop yourself down, and there's like Jeff Probst, the host, and like 15 other CBS people. And they're like, welcome, Dean, take a seat. And then they just like camera rolling like everyone on you. So I think
how
that trains
long
you a bit.
is casting?
I think it varies for multiple people. First off, like this was my first time applying, and I got like pretty lucky doing it. There were people on my season who applied 6 years in a row and finally got it. There was this one girl, Elaine, who applied in her 20s, 30s, and now finally got in her 40s.
Wow.
Like this is some people's like lifelong dreams. And like I said, I was just gonna like apply and like check it off my to-do list. So I submitted my video in September.
Okay.
I actually heard back from the lady the same day, same night via email, and she was like all hyped up, and I was like, she got me all hyped up, and then she continued to ghost me for 3 weeks, and I like left her voicemails, emailed her, and I was like, what the heck? And then she called me back. She's like, sorry, like things got in the way. Then you like have a couple phone calls, fill out an application. Then you eventually, if you make it to like Skype sessions with some producers as well as Jeff, and then they invite you to the final round, which was for me was in November, right before Thanksgiving.
Okay.
And then I didn't hear back until January, and then I went and shipped out in March, and then March and April, and then it didn't come on TV till September the next year.
So when you get to Fiji, is it what you expect? Is it worse than you expect? What did it meet your expectations? Talk about those first couple days and getting acclimated to the cast and the cameras and all that.
Yeah. At first, it was amazing. Like, I think there's just so much adrenaline and so much hype. It was like a beautiful sunny day. You're like, they did like a huge section of filming us like pulling up on this big boat. And they're like, so I'll have you know, so I think it was March 13th, they flew us all to LA hotel. We had to like give them our phones and everything. And then the next day they actually like start pulling us from our rooms. And that's the first time we get to see who else we're going to be on the island with. And at that moment, like, you're not allowed to talk to anyone because they don't want you to start making friends and relationships off camera, right? Because it would skew the whole storyline. That continues itself for like the first. Then we fly out to Fiji, still can't talk to anyone. Then we don't like go directly to the island where they start filming. We go to this like holding hotel area where we're there for 3 to 4 days. And again, those 3 to 4 days we cannot talk to anyone. So it's crazy. So like then we're like the next day they're like, all right, cool. Like tomorrow's the day we're gonna go. Still, you can't talk to anyone. Then you're on this boat. They're filming from a helicopter, doing this stuff. Like, you're still looking at people like, who are these people? And then finally, the boat pulls up to the island, and you're like, oh my God, I've been watching you all week. Like, what's your name? Like, where are you from? Blah, blah, blah. And, like, there's just so much adrenaline and excitement that it's amazing. And like for most people, like I said before, it's their lifelong dream to be on it. So like everyone's ecstatic. That quickly fades.
Yeah.
It wasn't until night 3 when it rained. We tried to make fire off like bamboo and twigs and stuff. We couldn't make it happen. The other tribe did. I think in episode 1 you'd see. So we did not have a fire until night 3 when we first went to tribal council. We lost. We had to vote someone out. But then Jeff gave us a flint.
Yeah.
But up until that point, we couldn't make a fire, so therefore we couldn't cook the rice that they gave us. So all we literally ate for 3 days was coconut. And coconut is a natural laxative.
Right.
So that was very, very, very painful.
Hot start.
Yeah. And then right after that, like that night, it was like pitch black because like there's no lights or anything. And if the stars aren't out, like you can't see anything. So we weren't making a fire that night. Then it poured rain that night. And we were like lollygagging, having a good time the first 3 days. So our shelter was kind of crap, to be honest. So the pouring rain killed us. And I can say confidently to this day, like every day after that it rained were like the lowest points of my life. Right. Like you're in one outfit. It's like tropical pouring rainstorms. Some people have like cotton hoodies on. And imagine just like dunking that in a pool of water.
Right.
And then having to like wear it and try to be warm and amongst the wind and the cold.
Nope.
And we're sleeping or attempting to sleep in the dirt while it's pouring rain. We're all like huddled. We have like 8 people cuddled together, like hands in other people's armpits to try and stay warm and stuff.
Oh my gosh.
It's very, very gross. And then like you're all muddy and you're just hoping. Like we spent a lot of time just watching the sky and being like, are there clouds? Are the clouds moving this way? At nighttime, can you see the stars? Great, because that means it's not cloudy.
Right.
Rain was by far the worst thing, and it stunk. And in addition to that, the food part, I thought like they would give us like a granola bar, a Cliff Bar in the woods. They weren't giving us anything.
Really?
So it was like, it's real. I thought there would be some aspects that kind of caught me by surprise how difficult it actually was to live out there. Yeah.
They weren't throwing like Nutrigrain bars at
Dude,
you.
no, I wish.
And okay, clothing.
Yeah.
You have one set of clothes this entire time. Okay.
Yeah.
Which are you're selling off right now, correct?
Oh, they've been sold.
They've been sold? They went
yeah.
quick?
Selling on what?
eBay.
Oh my God.
So for those who don't know, like Meg and perhaps you, Survivor's like almost like has a cult following.
Wow.
That's like our last 40 seasons, you know?
Yeah, there are exactly. Yeah, it's doing something right. I think it still gets like 8 million viewers an episode. Most of my friends, they're of the camp. Wait, that show's still on, or haven't watched since season 1? It's like, yeah, I'm kind of similar. But like people who watch don't watch it casually. They've watched every season, know every player. It's crazy. So they're like, they call them super fans, and then they're like uber super fans, almost on the border of weirdo super fans, who have purchased my clothing that I wore for 39 days with no shower. I did not wash the clothing. I did not wash the clothing on purpose. Okay. My underwear included was purchased on eBay
as a set,
and it's all sold. No, I sold each one individually.
Smart,
I thought I would maximize profit that way.
Smart.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's wild. I mean,
it was crazy.
How funny is it that you went to the end with a guy named Tommy Sheehan?
That is hilarious. I know.
Who's our strength coach here in Columbia? Like,
well,
did you guys talk about that at all?
Well, no, we couldn't because, like, part of my strategy was to not stand out at all. So for those who did watch or do watch, like, you're there amongst 10 people initially. There's 2 tribes of 10. And if you lose the challenge, you go to tribal council where you have to vote someone off. No one wants to vote anyone off, really. Like, the only thing you want to do is just not get voted off yourself. So if there's any excuse whatsoever that you could pin someone else down to be like, oh, we need to get him, they just lied about this, or to be honest, the first guy was a poker player, right? So people were like, oh, he's kind of shaky, like, what about him? So like, you don't want to like stand out too much, be the loudest person, the smartest person in the room. So my plan going in, I didn't tell people that I went to Columbia, and I didn't tell people that I work at Google, because I know those like 2 big brand names would like hit people off. There was a girl, Kelly Kim, who went to Harvard and went to Wharton. And immediately people were like, oh my gosh, like, no way, we need to get her out like as soon as possible. So we couldn't speak of Tommy Sheehan is my point. I was dean. It's
not like they could have Googled him at that point, though. Like,
no, exactly. That's a good point. Yeah. I could have said my strength coach. You're right. That's a good point. But I just wanted to just keep my mind away from that. But yeah, I told him I went to Hunter College. Yeah. I told him I played D3 basketball. And I also was co-captain senior year, which I was here. Yep. Averaged 2 minutes a game. and my best friend was the all-league player. So like it was kind of all true.
Right, a variation of the truth.
Exactly. But which is funny because the previous season, there was a girl who actually went to Hunter College. So I could have been screwed if that were the season.
Yeah. You were on just the right season to get away with that one. You talked a little bit about your strategy going in. When you got there, how much did it have to change based on how the game was going?
Yeah. To be honest, I don't think that much. I mean, I think part of the strategy also was like just be flexible. Mm-hmm. You have to be because stuff isn't going to go as planned. Right. But no, in general, my strategy was lay low. Don't be the smartest guy, loudest guy, most athletic guy. And for those who watch, like, I don't think I was even shown on camera in episode 2.
Right.
Like, that's not to say I wasn't talking to anyone, but I wasn't doing anything outlandish. Mm-hmm. And that was all according to plan. And the idea was like, lay low, lay low, lay low. People won't think like you're a threat or whatever. And then at the end, try to like actually come to life and turn up. And like, I couldn't have asked for a better execution of that plan.
Right.
Like, even all the stuff that happened in those last 2 episodes is still mind-blowing to me that it actually occurred at that time with all those wins and advantages and idol findings and whatever. So I'm proud that I executed my strategy. Getting second, perhaps my strategy wasn't a winning strategy.
Right.
But I executed the strategy that I went out to achieve, yeah.
I mean, speaking a little bit biasly, I did watch the season. I think you played the game a little bit more than Tommy, that's just my opinion. Mm-hmm. And I think it just depends on the jury. Like if you had to vote off Kelly after she gave you an idol. Mm-hmm. So that's not going to sit well with her, obviously. And you kind of understand why she's going to vote Tommy. But he didn't do much as far as gameplay, but that worked for that jury. A different jury might have given you the $1 million.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
I do agree with that. I think that's just nature of it. But
and I'm not saying that's wrong. They did the wrong thing either. It's just different personalities in different groups. It kind of just depends on what you get.
I think that I also think like different viewers like find different things to attach themselves to, and I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm biased, and a lot of my friends and people like yourself are telling me like, damn, you should have won, and obviously I hope they love me and should say that regardless. But I think also a lot of the people I associate with are casual viewers of the game. And I've gotten supposedly, I don't go on it, but like on Reddit and like Twitter, like people are like, damn, Dean got robbed, and thank you Reddit and Twitter people. But I think at least what I think is like that's the more casual viewer who's like into like all the winnings and the big dramatic moments with idols and this and that, because like any viewer watching a movie or something, but then like the more subtle like nuanced like relationship game that Tommy played is perhaps what I think the more like complex Survivor super fan loves. So I don't know, but I think you're right. Yeah, different jersey, who knows? Yeah, I'll be a millionaire.
Yeah,
almost.
Yeah. No, I mean it was just really interesting. I mean, especially the last few weeks, a lot of twists and turns. Like you go into, I mean, even during tribal councils, I admittedly I have not watched Survivor in a long time, and because we have previous relationship and everything like that, I got back into it, but I never remember seeing like somebody going into tribal council and just starting to stir up names, like throwing names out there just to see what stuck, and it was insane. And you're kind of on the edge of your seat, like what is going to happen here? Like you had no idea. I mean, it made for good television, especially towards the end.
I mean, to your point, there's a reason the show's been on for 20 years. It's and they do a very good job editing it to make it suspenseful. There were times like we were going to tribal council and like we felt it was just obvious, like this is going down, and then you watch it on TV like, damn, they did good job by you guys.
Did you watch it back as everyone else did?
Of course, yeah. No, we didn't. Well, first of all, we didn't watch it at all. So we get off. We got back. It was March, April. We got back like April 29th. They don't show us anything. They don't like give us previews or anything. So the only time we actually could watch it was when it was on TV. So every Wednesday we had like big old like watch party and stuff, which is fun. And even at those, to be honest, we couldn't really watch it just because like people were yelling at me, like grabbing me, like what the heck, why'd you do that? And like I wanted to like focus and like see what I said. So I would typically watch it like the day or two after, like by myself and focus on it.
Did you scout for this? Did you watch every season?
I watched
before?
Game Film. Yeah.
You watched Game Film?
So I found out, like I said, in like late January, and then didn't go out there till March 13th.
Okay.
I didn't watch every season, but I picked like the top ones that people said and watched them. Yeah.
Stole some game plans.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's tie it back to Columbia because this is a Columbia basketball podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any specific examples of stuff that happened here, either playing or in school, that you were able to use to your advantage when you're on the island?
I don't know.
I mean, there were some basketball type challenges too.
Gosh, don't bring them up. Don't bring them up. So yeah, there was this one where there was like a swimming and then like obstacle course, and then you get to the final stage, and you had to pick 2 people from your tribe to wait at that final stage to ultimately take these like buoys and then shoot them underhand, whatever you want to do, into like 3 nets that were progressively further in the ocean from this little dock area. And I really, really wanted to shoot. And up until that point, I had never won a challenge. So I was like, this is my friggin' turn. Like, it's going to go down. And to be honest, like, as most people watching this probably know, like, or look up my stats, like, I was not a shooter at all. But now when I go out play at, like, Tompkins Square Park and, like, Chelsea Piers, like, you know, I put a little chip on my shoulder, like, hey, I can shoot, whatever. Kyle Smith isn't here anymore. So, like, I still have somewhat confidence in me, but I understand, like, I'm not a shooter at all. But then I was like, compared to all these other Survivor people, like, I have to be good at this.
Yeah. So
we actually got to that portion of the challenge later. So we had to catch up, and there's like one that was really close, so I just like laid it in. Then the next one I think I made in like 2 attempts, and we actually caught up to the last one where we were going back and forth. Ended up losing. Which was like super disheartening. Went back to, especially because like I was on the chopping block a little to get voted out perhaps. We went back, and I was so upset, especially because on the other side there was Tommy Sheehan, who I hadn't met at the time, and he just looks like a goofball. At least to me, like,
and you said it on camera too.
He's like tall, lanky, like, and I was just like, gosh, how the hell did I lose to him? I ended up meeting him. We ended up becoming very, very good friends on the island and like playing all the way to the end together, and find out he was a Division III basketball player.
Okay, at Cortland, who's actually that's my alma mater. Which is crazy.
And he was like supposedly relatively big time in high school too. To be honest, I Googled him one day and I couldn't find it. But supposedly he played at a Long Island high school and was like all league or perhaps even like all state in New York. Okay. And he was known as like a spot up 3-point shooter. And his dad, I think, was a coach at the St. Mary's High School where like Danny Green and them went, who eventually won a national championship and stuff. So he and I bonded over basketball a lot.
Right.
And at the time of that challenge, I didn't realize. So I was like really pissed that I lost to him, but now I'm like, he's a shooter. I'm not a shooter. He should have won, you know? But actually the next challenge was basketball-esque.
Yeah.
Actually somewhat relates to Columbia here. The challenge was, again, like the whole obstacle course, do whatever, and then 2 people shoot. And this time it was like a 20-foot high, like, probably even more.
It was almost like a carnival, like Pop-A-Shot type setting.
But like Godzilla size, like 50 feet tall, angled ramp, and then like baskets on each. Okay. And it was me and my tribe mate Jamal who were shooting, and we alternated. We got a couple, and then I eventually made the last shot, like right in the nick of time, and was like so proud to redeem myself and not like just be the one who screws up every challenge as I was up until that point. But why, like I say, it somehow relates to Columbia is like in the water one, like I was shooting like a basketball form at Columbia here with Kyle Smith. Before every game, we would do like a walkthrough in the morning. We would walk through, and then like to end on like a positive note, we would just line up one at a time and shoot a half-court shot to end it. And we couldn't leave until someone hit it. And I just back then, for some reason, I was always a good passer, so I wouldn't like shoot it from half court. I would like actually 2-hand like chest pass it. Because I always like thought I was good at like long court, like big man running down the floor type passes. And so that's what I did on those, because it was like so high up and so far that I was basically chest passing it into, and it reminded me of like the half court stuff, which also I wasn't great at, but it worked out there. Yeah, it worked out there.
So when you where were the watch parties that you had?
Primarily in the city.
Okay.
So I'm from New Jersey, and my family wanted to come in to support me.
Love
stand
that.
up. Mm-hmm. And also my mom's side of the family is from Long Island.
Okay.
So I wanted somewhere close to Penn Station. So I found this place called Mustang Harry's, which is right there.
Okay.
Shout out Mustang Harry's. They were awesome. We had like the whole second floor. We controlled the music. They gave us a microphone. Like Tommy Sheen came in from Long Island for a couple. Then
I can't unhear our strength coach. When I say that. That's hysterical. I didn't really put that together when I was reading the finalists. Amazing.
And, like, other people came in, like I think Chelsea was in town, Elizabeth and Jack were in town one time, so that was fun. There were a couple I went to New Jersey for. So the episode where my mom came on the island, we were actually did that in New Jersey, so a lot of her friends and stuff could come, which was cool. And then then I went away for a little for work around like Thanksgiving, November time. And then when we got back, we had one episode left before the finale, for which I'd be in LA for.
Okay.
So, and this time me and Tommy were still left. So we wanted to do a huge one with all our friends, our families. And Mustang Harry's at that point just wasn't cutting it.
Okay.
The volume was like a little, like not great and stuff.
Okay.
So we picked the sports bar on First Ave and First or Second called the Grayson.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever been? And it's like known to like turn up for like NFL games and stuff.
Yeah.
And we had the whole back, like literally all the walls are covered with TVs. So we had like a DJ during commercials. They gave it to us and we like packed it out. There was like standing room only. I think like Alex Rosenberg and some other guys were there. But it was super, super fun.
At this point, are people approaching you, like trying to take selfies?
This just happened before we did this.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, does that count?
I mean, yeah. Our administrative assistant, Danette Diaz, who I call my work mom, I was talking to her upstairs and she was like, "What are you doing still here?" And I was like, "Well, I have a podcast. I'm on a podcast." And we're interviewing this guy, Dean, who played here. Like, do you remember? She was like, "Oh my God, yeah, Survivor. Mm-hmm. Is he here?" And I was like, "Well, not yet." And Mike came up and she was so excited. Like, she ran down the stairs ahead of Mike and I. But yeah, so before this podcast,
this is a normal occurrence now at this point.
Well, also the funny layer to that story was I spent 4 years with her. And she's like always around the basketball teams, as you guys know. And I thought we built a pretty good relationship,
No, you're peaking now.
yeah. But like then we come back and we play occasionally like Sunday pickup here with alums and stuff. And there was one time where I was looking for Coach Check because he helps us organize it. And I went up to Danae and was like, "Oh my God, I haven't seen you forever. Like, how are you? Like, what's going on?" She was like, "Who are you?"
Oh my gosh.
And this is before the show, obviously. And now she wants pictures of me.
Now she's like, he's on Survivor.
It has happened a good amount. Right after the New Year, I felt was like its heaviest. Before that, I was skiing in Vail, like between the 26th and 30th, and like in the morning as we were like waiting for our group to come together, like my helmet was off, and like 2 mornings in a row, like kids came out to me, like their mom wanted to take a picture. This is funny. At the Vail airport coming back to New York, another one. So that was like 3 days in a row. Then I got back on the 30th, and New Year's Eve, I was in line at Fairway on the Upper West Side, getting like a drink for the night, and some guy like taps me on the shoulder. He's like, "Hey, I know this is random, but like, you should have won." Like statistically, it's like your classic New York Upper West Side guy. He had the Zabar's hat on and everything.
Oh yeah,
he's a great guy. And then the second, I was actually on a first date with this girl, and we were walking down the West Side Highway with coffees, and she is a Survivor fan. And some random old lady came up and was like, "Sorry to interrupt, but like, just want to say you should have won." And like, she looked at me like, "Does this always happen?" I was like, No.
Did she know you were on it?
Yeah. So I kind of felt like a big deal. But now I'd say it's like maybe once, twice a week. At Google, like a lot of people have come up to me internally. It was funny, like right after the finale, I got like tons of Google emails from random people like, "Oh my God, just realizing you work here. Like, could we get coffee and lunch sometime?" Like, sure.
Networking.
No, but seriously, I am looking for a new job internally. So it's actually been somewhat helpful. We'll see if anything pans out.
You talked about some of the cast members coming to the watch parties and stuff. You see it all the time, especially on shows like The Bachelor and stuff. Like, what is that bond like? I mean, you guys been through a lot together. Mm-hmm. So, like, how much do you keep in touch and follow along with each other?
Yeah. I mean, they say, like, in general in life or dating or whatever, like, having new experiences together, like, brings people close together. Having new, unique experiences, like, is another level. And I think this was, like, the unique of the unique. Like, even amongst alums, like, there are less than 600 people who have done this.
Right.
You know, and, like, I find someone on LinkedIn who went to Columbia, and it's, like, a special bond. You know, like, find someone who went to Survivor, it's like, oh, my God, like, we've been through the same stuff. So that's that. And, like, the bonds are really, really special. And, like, if you relate it to, like, Final Tribal Council, where you're saying, like, Tommy was on one tribe, I was on the other tribe, and like those tribal lines are like still very rich at the end. And I chalk it up to like those initial days when it's raining and you're building shelter and you're starving and like you're so ecstatic to be there, like they're very, very special moments. And also like I felt I got to know people so quickly. Like, I mean, not to be brash here, but like to talk about like you're going to the bathroom like in like the first 15 minutes you're meeting.
Right.
Like think of like your of like your
Yeah.
significant other. Like when do you get to that moment? Like months down the line, perhaps, right? But like you really bond like really closely, and then literally some days you don't have a challenge. We didn't have a challenge till day 3. So those first 2 days we were literally just there with each other, no phone, no nothing. Like if you were out by yourself, like people thought you were looking for an idol, so you didn't want to do that. So you were just hanging out with people all day, every day, with nothing to talk about, nothing to stimulate you, besides like get to know people. So it felt like I knew these people after 3 days, like as well as I know some of my best friends. So I am still pretty close with some, Tommy being one, still very close with like Elizabeth, who we started on the same tribe with, her current boyfriend, fellow castmate, Jack.
They're together now.
Yeah, they actually moved in together. Good for them. It's safe to say like we're all close.
Yeah.
But also like you're not going to be best friends with 19 other people.
Of course.
So there's some, no offense, but some I like better than
Kind of
others.
like a team.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But no, we all share a unique bond, and when we're together, it's really fun.
When you got back, was it tough to kind of get back into like having your phone and technology, or was it like that? Like, did you jump back and jump into reality? How fast did you jump back into reality?
How many emails is one thing. My birthday was there while I was out there.
Oh, okay.
And so I was expecting to come back to like all this love. And my Google phone is an Android, so it doesn't have iMessage, which is Wi-Fi based. Mm-hmm. And apparently like the text will try to push through over non-Wi-Fi, but they stopped doing so after like 21 days or something. Mm-hmm. So I came back and had 0 birthday love. I was like, did everyone forget about me? What happened? So I was really upset about that. And I it was amazing to disconnect out there, to be honest. Like I loved it. Like I try to disconnect like every now and then. I'll do like a Sunday with touching nothing, try watching no TV, and like it's still just there, you know, like, and it's still top of mind. And then you're on the subway and you see everyone else like with headphones, like, oh, I kind of want that. But like there was like very, not easy, but like it was very rewarding to disconnect, and like you kind of dove into it and accepted it. Mm-hmm. And I think it was rewarding for that matter. But coming back, I think I was just like so over it. I was like, give me all the food, give me all the technology, give me everything. And I think by happenstance had scheduled a week when I got back, a week at home in New Jersey at my family home, where I literally just like laid on the couch all day, and like my mom and like my sister-in-law like brought over cupcakes, and I ate like 8 cupcakes in a row. I had 20 pounds to gain back.
Yeah.
So
you lost 20 pounds?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So I don't know. That was a nice buffer to have before I came back to New York and back to work.
What were you craving the most that you couldn't have?
I don't pinpoint it exactly, but the first thing I ate was after Final Tribal Council that evening. On the Final Tribal Council set, the like lights came on, and they like all the video camera people, producers came out, and they had like a little celebration. There was like champagne and pizza. Nice. So like Tommy, Nora, and I, who were the last 3 standing, like just scarfed it all down. That was not by choice. It was just what was there. But my first thing I had by choice was then later that evening when we got back to Ponderosa, which is like the hotel area where the cast stays when you get voted off. We went straight into like dancing and drinking like right when we got off the boat. Yeah. And then finally the guy came up to me. He's like, hey, so what do you want to eat? Like, you haven't eaten in 39 days. And the first thing I could think of was a peanut butter and jelly. So I ordered 2 toasted peanut butter and jellies delivered to me on the dance floor. And I had it. And then Tommy actually copied me. He was standing next to me. He was like, I'll take the same thing. Because he followed me the whole game, as we all know.
Your strategy. PB and Jazz.
But we had that. And then the rest of the night, I recall I had a jar of Nutella, which is like my favorite ever. Nice. And was dipping those crunchy Nature Valley bars into it, like on the dance floor. And I eventually slept with the jar of Nutella on my nightstand that first night.
They should record that. I know. That would be a great postseason.
Typically, when people get voted out, they do record you like at the Ponderosa like hotel area. But that night they weren't. I guess they just wanted us to be able to let loose and stuff.
Do they? I don't like. obviously know too much about Survivor. I'm learning a lot.
Yeah.
But do they ever bring people back?
All the time.
Yeah.
Oh, so
this
like,
next season is an all-star cast, right?
Yeah, so they do. This next season is all winners.
Yep.
And that's the first time they've ever done that for their 20th anniversary of the 40th season. But oftentimes they'll bring back like fan favorites or like people who they think they got wrapped. So I get a lot of love.
Comeback.
I get a lot of love from people who are like, we want Dean back, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Would you do it again?
Well, first let me say, like, I would love to go back, but I think like there's other people like Elaine or Nora who are like, their personality is just so big. Like, yes, maybe like if there was like a second place season, I would do it. I would get it. But I think then first, would I do it? I can say confidently now, yes. And this has only evolved over the past couple weeks as I've been doing like different podcasts and stuff. At first, when I got off the island, it was an absolute no. Like, I didn't want to deal with the pouring rain. I wanted to eat. I just wanted to hang out and like have a bed and a roof, you know? So I was like, no. And then I think throughout the whole season watching it, and obviously I'm very biased because I had a positive outcome and a positive experience through it all. Like, you start to think back and watch like, wow, I can't believe I did that. And like, you think about like how challenging it was and now like how rewarding it was, like the lessons it taught me and like, I don't know, like gratefulness and like just dealing with things and being happy.
Yeah.
That I think I would absolutely do it. And I seriously think, like, again, 600 or less people have done it. I would be such a brat to turn them down if they asked me.
Yeah,
and there's so many fans out there who want to play. Like, if they're, and then there's obviously so many less who have been able to play twice. So I don't think I could like live with myself. I said no.
You turned them down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if Mike, would you be able to watch yourself?
No, there's no way.
Well, it's funny because I hate listening to myself too. And yeah, I do, like, when the confessionals, I would be like, oh
my God.
Especially when I said something stupid and at the watch party, everyone's like, looking at me. And I'm like, oh, God.
Well, I mean, the infamous line is the splitting of the vote when everybody was there. So, I mean, and you got away with it, too. We were like, you know, again, somebody that didn't watch for a long time, I was like, wait, that doesn't make right.
Sense. Well, they edited it. So this was like episode 3, perhaps.
Yeah, that was early.
And the first 2 episodes, I had no screen time.
By design.
Perhaps, I guess. And this 3rd episode, like, was basically my coming out party. But everything I did was the biggest goofball moves out there. Like, I lost a challenge that we had a huge lead on because I was like the puzzle guy at the end. I said split the vote, which was like the silliest thing to say. And then, like, while in between, they'd have a random clip of me like tripping over a log. Like, come on, guys, you didn't have to throw that in there. But yeah, this was like my coming out party, and that was like I early on I read like a lot of the stuff on Twitter and Reddit, and they were just like roasting me so hard. Yeah. I ended up getting away from it, thankfully. But
I was going to ask if you kept up with.
So I didn't, but like a lot of my friends would send me memes and stuff or whatever. And as we know, I finished really, really strong. Yeah. Especially like from a viewer standpoint, they were on the DK train. Okay. So my one good friend, Sandeep, who played here as well, he said he likened me to LeBron. Duh. And he goes like LeBron. What did he say? He was like, first they hate you, then they respect you, and now they love you. So me and LeBron. Yeah.
I mean, you're a meme.
Yeah. No, I am. Yeah. I am. There was actually one meme that was awesome. So I think at the end, as I started like winning and like getting more of these challenges, like my enthusiasm and personality started coming out more just because I had something to be positive and happy about.
Winning is fun.
Yes. And I started just saying like outlandish stuff in these confessionals. Like, I just thought I was a boss. And so there is one where that became a meme, at least via the Reddit crowd. Mm-hmm. Actually, if you on I don't know if it's all phones, but if you go on Giphy, like in your keyboard, and type in like Dean Survivor, there is one of me in there. Yeah. But there is a better one, at least on Reddit, because they come up with everything. I don't know if it's mainstream. When I had like the immunity idol that I won, I had the idol nullifier, and I had the hidden immunity idol. And I called it my bling, whatever. And I was like, Mama, look at me now. Like, I'm not a goofball anymore or something. And there was one meme around New Year's that's like 2020 goals, chillin' and blinged out. Because I called myself DK Chillin'. Shout out to Instagram. Follow me on DK Chillin'.
Was that your Instagram before?
Yeah, before. Okay. So they're like, yeah. And then, actually funny, on the show, like, people started calling me DK Chillin'. So then the producers and the cameramen started referring to it as well. And they would ask me in confessionals, like, what does DK chillin' mean? Like, what is the embodiment of that? And so that became like the Reddit meme, like, I want to be DK chillin' and blinged out in 2020. It's like, yeah.
New Year's resolution.
Yeah.
So we'll close it out by just asking, are you still following the team? Are you close to the program now? And how close are you paying attention to everything going on with Columbia basketball?
Yeah. I'll be honest, like, since I've graduated, like, it has weaned progressively as I've gotten further and further away from it. I still feel like very attached to the program itself and the gym and the community. But when it comes to like individual players, unfortunately, like, and the record all season, I haven't been following too much of it. But like,
you've had other stuff going on, to be fair.
That's true. But no, I still feel like connected with the coaches. For all of our alumni who are listening, like, we've been trying, like, every Sunday we have the court, the coaches give it to us to get some pickup going. And to be honest, like, maximally we'll get like 11, 12 people. We'll take them all.
Yeah.
We'll take them all. So whoever's listening out there, hit me up and we'll put you in the group and make it happen. But no, that's been fun. And like reconnecting with those older guys. And like, I want it to be a thing where like once kids graduate, like they know, okay, like I still have something to look forward to if I stick around the city, and I'll still be here every Sunday and go into games. But yeah, I was just away last weekend. So I wasn't able to make the Cornell game. But when we're back in 2 weeks, I should be around.
Great. Well, that's all the time we have. Ro, thanks for hopping on with us. Dean,
of course.
Thanks again, man. This is a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun.
So best of luck. We'll see you at games. Hopefully alumni weekend coming up in the next couple weeks. So just a reminder, both men's and women's programs are at Cornell this weekend, this Saturday, January 25th. Women start at 1. Men tip off at approximately 4 p.m. You can watch both games on ESPN+. So that'll do it for this week's episode, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Woo. Go Lions.